Yeah, so the ACUE, so those of you who are hopping in, thank you. We are recording it. So we are doing an informational session about ACUE. So the ACUE is known as the Association of College and University Educators. It's an organization that delivers kind of high quality certifications, professional development courses, really to help with student success and really have an impact on student success. They're quick to implement practices, very different from other types of sessions where you actually get to hands-on implement them in your classes as opposed to just kind of going through and reading material, and you're able to then reflect on those practices. So ACUE's Effective Teaching Practices course. So the course that SUNY Oswego is partnering with ACUE on is the Effective Teaching Practices course. It is a 25-week course. It prepares faculty with evidence-based teaching practices. And for those of you who have been a part of any of CELT's reading groups, any of our breakout sessions, Flower Darby, Linda Nielsen, all of the people that we talk about a lot with inclusive teaching and pedagogy, they are also, their ideas, and some of them also have videos now in ACUE, and they're a part of this organization as well. So it does go over those evidence-based teaching practices. It's been proven, validated research that it does help with student achievement and it helps close equity gaps. And for this course, it's going to be, well, most of the courses, all of the courses with ACUE are fully online, and you have a cohort of your colleagues. So it's professionally facilitated with ACUE this year, but CELT will also help with that facilitation, kind of oversee. And it's a great way to really have discussions with your colleagues about what they're implementing, what they are doing in the classroom with these teaching practices, and really getting a good idea about what experts in the field are doing.
And in each module, there's a particular area you focus on, but they have examples that work with small classes, that work with mid-sized classes, large classes, face-to-face classes, online classes, etc., so that there are types of activities you can implement on that theme, no matter what type of class you're doing. And if you have any questions, just jump in.
And also, if there is a module where maybe it's not something you want to implement for the class that you're teaching in that semester. It could be a plan to implement that you do for later down the road class or something like that. So there's different ways to kind of reflect or implement. So also with the course, it addresses kind of some main competencies. ACUE uses an effective practice framework, as you can see here: learn, refine, reflect, implement, and collaborate. And specifically, the course is organized into 5 major areas of practice. So we're looking at designing an effective course, how to establish productive learning and a productive learning environment in your classroom, using active learning strategies, promoting higher order thinking, assessing to inform instruction and promote learning. So all of these things are addressed within the course. And like John said, not only for, just in-person classes, but online classes, large classes, small classes. So it's very helpful for most of our colleagues who are able to do this in their classrooms and see kind of the impact. Anything you wanted to add there? So what's expected? So if you are wishing to participate, you're going to explore and kind of implement different approaches to teaching. So it's designed to improve student engagement and persistence and promote deeper learning for you as a faculty member. The modules are done in Canvas. So what you'll see is kind of like, here's one of those modules, leading the first day of class. So it gives you kind of an introduction of what the module is going to go over, has a little bit of an opening questionnaire for you to kind of think about things already that maybe you're doing or not doing in your classes, goes over the learning objectives for the module, pause and plan, where you're actually thinking about different activities that you're able to then implement, gives lots of course demonstrations. You'll see you're engaging in the beginning, but you're also then listening, watching, and learning other faculty across the nation actually implement things and what worked well, what didn't work well. You get some expert insights, deep in thinking more about those challenges and misconceptions that we often have about certain things. And then lastly is that practice and reflect, where you really choose one of the activities that was mentioned within the model in the resources, and you are able then to implement it and then reflect with a reflection guide on how that process worked for you.
And in each module, they start off by first asking you what you've already done and tried. And that's actually a really good practice because pre-testing is a useful way of encouraging knowledge acquisition and making connections, which is something we don't talk about that much. But getting people to think about what they've done activates prior knowledge and makes it easier to connect to things. The course design is done in a way which is really a good, done based on best practice in terms of course design. So just watching and seeing, observing how the ACUE course is structured is really helpful. But you're first then exposed to experts in the field demonstrating and talking about how they've done things. But then after that, you are exposed to some videos where there are implementations, some of which are done well, some of which are done poorly, and then you're asked to reflect on those in the discussion forums. And that's really useful. And most people who've done this, who participated in the course, have said, you know, I see myself in there and recognize some of the things I've done, which perhaps now I should not be doing going forward. And it's really, the demos are really effective.
Yeah, they're really well done. So for example, here, so in every module, there's a ton of different videos, different resources. You don't just get, you know, one or two activities to choose from. They give you a ton of different lists of things that would be applicable for you. But the course demonstrations, like John said, are really great. You're able to download the transcriptions for the videos as well, but also it really shows you about a specific evidence-based practice, but then it also will show somebody who's not doing it very well, which is really great, and someone who does do it well. So it's great to actually see it happening and then think about what maybe you want to apply in it. So again, that's kind of what those course demonstrations look like, and how you can potentially do that with your own, you know, classes. And it also shows the instructors, it lets you know who those experts in the field are, and what they've been doing in their classrooms and things like that.
And it's expected that it should take about 2 to 3 hours a week.
Yeah.
The amount of time depends on how much depth you go into the supplemental readings and such things.
Right. Yeah. There's also discussions where you'll participate with the cohort. So it is that cohort model. So you're working independently, but you're also working, you know, in the discussion boards for each module, really kind of interacting with colleagues and also the facilitators, those types of things. They'll have you do a little observe and analyze, then maybe ask some questions about it in the discussion, which they have a following prompt here. You know, how well does Julie establish course expectations and relevance? Share how you build community during your first day of class, and how do your students respond? So it gives you kind of the outline of how to engage in the discussion in the following ways and replying back to your colleagues and those types of things. They also share appropriate etiquette and how that's crucial as well.
Which has not really been an issue in any of our cohorts.
Not in ours, but it's interesting too, because this is what when we're teaching an online course with our students, it's the same thing we want to model. So all around has some great useful tools, because I actually ended up using some of their tools from that in my own course as well. They also provide those expert insights. So videos, and the videos are really well done too. So as you can see here, using kind of more of the graphic type of visual. So Linda Nielsen here in this particular one is a scholar in teaching and learning, discusses different nuances with the research support and teaching techniques and practices within the module. So you get really good tidbits from those experts in the field, a lot of which we talk about, some who we've had here at SUNY Oswego for our reading groups. So it's really great to see that alignment with what we do with CELT and what ACUE is doing as well nationwide. Other parts of the module, common challenges and misconceptions. These are little drop downs, kind of like what we have now in Brightspace if you use the accordion. You'll click on it. Have you ever encountered this misconception? You know, the misconception being that there's isn't much to prepare for the first day of class once I've created my syllabus outcomes. So something we talk about a lot, don't have a syllabus day, start right in with that content. So they give you some strategies, and it also helps you look at, you know, what is the misconception, and let's clarify that, you know, giving you those experts, the knowledge, and also with those links to further your understanding and having more resources kind of in your toolbook. So a great way to do it, this one misconception, I need to read the syllabus on the students on the first day, and then gives you some ideas for clarification with there as well. So implementing those practices after you go through the module, the last part of that really is looking at what do you want to implement based on what you learned within this module. The reflection guide is what you'll be looking at for every module. You want to follow this little rubric. You're graded on either meets, exceeds, or does not meet or exceed. So if you meet and you exceed, either or, you get assigned your badge for that module. So the questions really are, did you identify the practice, right? And the steps you took to actually implement it in your classroom? How do you use the practices to impact your students, and maybe what impact did you see? Did you see students start to be more engaged or interested that can help with kind of exceeding? And also what other steps you kind of want to take to continue to refine what you're learning for the use of practices that were shared in the model, or the one particularly that you chose to implement.
And the grading of these is done externally. It's no one
Yes.
here who gets to reflect on your submissions. And most people do meet them initially, because it helps when the criteria and the rubric is right on the form where you submit the information.
Yeah.
So it makes it pretty clear what you have to demonstrate. And occasionally some people don't, but then they get back their feedback and then you can resubmit if needed.
Yeah. Yep. So you're always able to resubmit and earn that badge to go through, which is helpful too, because if there is somewhere that you're missing, you'll get that feedback from what's known as the reader, who scores and will give you that info. So upon completion of the course, so what does this do for you professionally, and also just academically? You know, you are earning a nationally recognized certificate in effective college instruction. This was an example of mine. Also, ACE has noted, you know, the benefits of ACUE as well, the American Council on Education. So if you complete it, you know, you're earning the certificate. You'll also get the little ACUE pin that you can wear, you know, during graduation, those types of things. But it's a sign of achievement. You know, you'll also be getting digital badges that you can add to your LinkedIn pages, those types of things, but also add it to your curriculum vitae. If you are on your tenure track line, adding that to your resume, those types of things, portfolios, really good. And also the biggest thing, really helping support our students, you know, in their learning and supporting them, you know, with effective teaching and being more inclusive in our classrooms.
And is that the end of this stuff?
I believe, well, time commitment, yeah.
Okay.
So,
well, we've talked about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Basically, it will be, this will continue until right after the semester begins. I don't think we've seen the final schedule, but it'll probably finish up in early June, I suspect.
Yeah.
And when we have breaks, ACUE goes on a break too, so we don't have to do anything during the winter break or during other holidays along the way.
Yeah, which that's nice too, if you're traveling or things like that. There is an incentive also for participating.
And that is new as of last year.
New as of last year. So $500 stipend, you know, upon completion of the course. So an additional incentive other than just supporting, you know, your students, but getting something, you know, to help you as well.
And if you participate in the course redesign, then you also receive another $500. So it's a small incentive, but it can go a long way as a recognition.
Yeah.
So what questions do you have?
Oh, you want me to just go ahead?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, well, first off, thanks you both for doing this. I really appreciate it. So my first question is just really about, and I imagine a lot of other folks that are new, like me, probably are thinking the same thing. How feasible is it for maybe like a first semester tenure track professor like myself, in terms of, you know, just doing this for someone like me in this position that I'm in right now?
We actually discussed that quite a bit before the first cohort, and we had a number of people do it in their first year, and it worked pretty well. In fact, the associate director did this during her first year, and it set her on a really good path for teaching, because you know, you're learning things as you're developing courses before you get stuck in ruts. And we've seen much more of an impact, I think, with people early in their teaching career than with people who are a bit further along, because it's kind of hard to break old habits. So it's, you know, while you're still developing your teaching, I think it's a really good thing to do.
And I think when I did the cohort start. I think it was my first year on
It
my
might have been
tenure
the first
track.
year.
Yeah, on my tenure track, because I was here as a VAP prior, but it was actually really feasible. You are prepping for your courses, and at the same time you are able to find new innovative ideas for that engagement in the course, which I think it also helped me when writing my tenure letter and my portfolio to kind of show what I'm doing on campus and how I'm integrating that into my classroom and my teaching, because really your first year, that's kind of the focus, right, is getting into that teaching and things like that. So showing that you already are making an effort in those areas was really good for me, and also it already kind of aligned with my teaching and what I wanted to do in the classroom, so it wasn't too much extra. And you saw the rubric, some people like to write a lot, some people put basic things in there, and as long as it meets, you're good. And it's a great way to just kind of download the resources also through ACUE, because I still go back to those. But I thought it was really helpful, and it was feasible for me given the time. I think I was teaching, I think I had an overload my first as well, and I still was able to do it. There may be deadlines that maybe you miss to submit, but you still can continue to submit. So they're not hard deadlines.
As long as
right?
you get everything completed by the end.
By the end,
and
yeah.
Sometimes if there's something in the course that doesn't directly apply to what you're doing, then you could wait and do it a few weeks later if there is something that applies better.
Yeah. So the stress of that is a little bit lenient. You have until the end of that to finish. Yeah.
Cool. So I guess you kind of answered that question, because my follow-up was going to be like flexibility. What if you get sick 1 week or something and you just can't quite get to a module? So it's pretty flexible in that.
Yes, absolutely. There was some where I was a little behind, and then I was able to catch up, and I submitted to, once I got, back up to date and stuff. Sometimes you'll see people submit a few. We'd like them to kind of break it out, but if you're sick or things like that, that's totally fine. There's totally flexibility with it.
And we do send reminders that if we see
motivational
people falling substantially behind, just gentle nudges, because we want people to finish. And in the first year, I think you were in our first year.
Yes, the first one. That was our biggest cohort.
Yeah, we had 100% completion. After that, it's been a little bit lower, but we've been generally, most of the time we're at 90% or better.
Right.
Oh, cool. Nice.
And I will say one of the biggest things I really enjoyed about this was the fact that students really liked it. I mean, you're coming in and I told them, hey, I'm doing this, ACUE course, and I'm going to be implementing some new things. And they really enjoyed the different activities and things. And that's kind of how I went into the classroom and talked about it. And I did get really good, feedback from students about it, and, the different practices that I started to implement that helped them better understand more complex topics, things like that, and implementing new kind of hands-on engaging activities rather than what I was doing before was really helpful for them.
Cool. Nice.
And quite a few people have said that.
Yeah.
And it does help you connect with students, that if they see you're learning and trying new things too.
Yeah.
It's a nice role model.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that sounds really cool. Yeah. And I guess this sounds great. I feel like I'm inclined to probably do it. So basically, there's like a link that is sent out and we register, and then just log in every, time we need to complete a module. That's sort of the standard of doing it. Okay.
Yeah. And you'll get emails. So you'll have an ACUE facilitator who will send out emails, welcoming you to the course, going in and creating your profile, and then giving you all kind of the logistics of how to use it and how to post and do all those types of things. You'll get more information once you're enrolled in the course and you get that login and everything. And like John said, we are here to help as well, because we've both facilitated. I've also been a reader before too, so we can help with any questions that you may have about ACUE too. So if you're not comfortable going to the facilitator, you can always come to us too. But yeah, and I really like the learning management system. I really like Canvas too. It's a great system.
It's a very intuitive structure too. It's pretty well laid out.
Yeah. And if you've heard about ACUE, I mean, there's so many universities and colleges all over, the US now that have been incorporating this, into their institutions. And it's been really well received. And you'll probably maybe know people who have done it before on our campus, but other campuses as well.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other SUNY campuses.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the main reason is it's really expensive.
Right, right.
So we've been
I didn't
very
know
fortunate
that. Yeah,
to
that's
have a
great.
provost who's been willing to do this.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good. I didn't know that.
Nice. Yeah, cool. I actually I don't really have a question, but I know I don't know if this will develop into a question, but we are in the sociology department. To my knowledge right now, we are doing a course redesign. So this is one reason why I really wanted to oh, sorry, got something in my eye. One reason why I wanted to do ACUE like kind of, quickly. Um so I guess I just wanted to put that out there. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
a question as much as it just like I really think it will be great for my own sort of development as
Yeah, definitely with a course redesign. I
yeah,
think those resources.
And that's what the grant, we have a Title III grant.
Yeah.
Kristen Farrell, the dean, was one of the people who put together the proposal for it. And that's what's providing the funding for that, for ACUE this year, as well as the course redesign. So the two go together really well. And we're hoping that most of the people who participate in the redesign will also do ACUE, or at least some of the people in each department who participate will have gone through it. So.
And there's so many resources, and you still have the resources, I think, up to a year after completion, but they've now come out with like a commons that you can still access unlimited.
What they used to say is that you would have it as long as a year past the time when the institution stops participating in ACUE. So you have unlimited, as long as we keep doing this, you'll have unlimited access. If we stop doing this at some point, and we might at some point, because this is our 6th cohort with about 30 people a year going through it. Eventually, most faculty will have done this.
Yeah. And I noticed my login worked for that ACUE Commons that Scott was talking about. So, yeah.
So you have access to all the resources later as well, and you're free to download and use any of them.
And print them.
Templates and lots of other things for activities.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I'm actually all set on my end. That was
great.
Yeah. No more questions. But yeah, thanks again. That was really helpful.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to participating.
Yeah, and if you have any other questions, you can always reach out.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Y'all have a great rest of your day then, okay?
Thanks, you too. Thanks, Tim.
Bye now.
Stop recording.
Yes, and it is going to